This is TechCrunch. So, AI's biggest champions have argued for some time now that the technology will usher in an era of unprecedented productivity gains, richly rewarding workers who harness it while displacing those who do not. Zeb Evans, CEO of the collaboration software startup ClickUp, claims that this shift is imminent. Last Thursday, Evans announced on X that the company, which was last valued in 2021 at $4 billion, had laid off 22% of its workforce, yet characterized that reduction as not a cost-cutting measure, but rather a radical embrace of AI that will propel the company to the next level. He said, "Most savings from this change will flow directly back into the people who stay. We'll be introducing million-dollar salary bands. If you create outsized impact using AI, you will be paid outside of traditional bands." ClickUp recently introduced roughly 3,000 internal AI agents to handle a wide range of complex tasks on behalf of its employees, according to a Fortune article published several days ago. Instead of performing the work themselves, staff members are now expected to direct these agents and ultimately review the output to ensure it meets the company's standards. Evans's goal, according to his X post, is for AI to turbocharge ClickUp into a 100x org. ClickUp is not alone in its hope that AI agents will provide massive productivity gains. In fact, according to a recent Gartner survey, about 80% of companies using autonomous tech have cut jobs. However, the study found that workforce reductions are not necessarily translating into meaningful financial returns. While Gartner's findings suggest some companies use unproven AI as an excuse to downsize, ClickUp maintains it is not one of them. Evans told TechCrunch via email that the startup is indeed seeing productivity gains from AI agents. Not only is ClickUp measuring those efficiencies internally, but it's also apparently gearing up to include them in a forthcoming product for its customers. Evans wrote in that email to TechCrunch, "Instead of gamifying token cost, we gamify value created and time saved." Now, in recent months, a growing number of companies have started monitoring employee token consumption, using it as a metric to see who is actually adopting AI tools. But critics argue that token maxing, as this concept is known, is the wrong metric because, it simply racks up AI expenses. Evans said, "The people that automate their jobs with AI will always have a job. But if AI keeps taking over more tasks, ClickUp will eventually need fewer and fewer people, thus eliminating those who fail to automate their functions well." Tech circles have long theorized about this scenario. One extreme example of a high-profile startup using AI automation to the max already exists. Polja, a one-year-old startup that claims to handle all software operations for solopreneurs, is run by just one person, its founder and CEO, Ben Broca. That efficiency is apparently paying off. Polja just raised $30 million at a $250 million valuation. Well, even the Pope is talking about AI. Pope Leo XIV published his first encyclical on Monday, dubbed Magnificat Humanitas, on safeguarding the human person in the time of artificial intelligence. And while AI is the hook, the problems Leo focuses on are older and more pervasive. Things like inequality, war, the erosion of democracy, and the concentration of power in the hands of those who do not necessarily care whether humanity writ large remains magnificent. Throughout the 200-page document, which the Pope presented alongside Anthropic co-founder Chris Olah, Leo argues that technology built and governed by a small elite cannot, by definition, serve the common good. He wrote, "When such power is concentrated in the hands of a few, it tends to become opaque and evade public oversight, increasing the risk of distorted forms of development that give rise to new dependencies, exclusions, manipulations, and inequalities." He continued, In fact, as with every major technological shift, AI tends to amplify the power of those who already possess economic resources, expertise, and access to data. The encyclical continued highlighting concerns that elites can use their power to shape information and consumption patterns, influence democratic processes, and steer economic dynamics to their own advantage. Now, the Pope's encyclical comes a few days after President Donald Trump delayed signing his executive order on AI, which would have given the government oversight over new models before they are released, reportedly on the urging of VC investor and former White House AI czar David Sacks. Pope Leo called for AI to be guided by clear criteria and effective oversight, grounded in participation from communities that will be affected by it. More concretely, Leo called for an end to the AI arms race, for ever more powerful algorithms and larger data sets that companies and countries believe will secure geopolitical or commercial dominance. He wrote, "To disarm means discrediting the assumption that technical power automatically confers the right to govern." Again, these dynamics predate AI. Pope Leo XIII's 1891 Rerum Novarum addressed the same concentration of power during the Industrial Revolution. But we needn't look back that far. Elon Musk's acquisition of Twitter and deployment of the platform to help elect Trump, the hundreds of millions flowing from tech elites into super PACs to block AI regulation, the kind of pattern that clearly inspired Leo XIV's work. The Pope comes to the same conclusion that many have arrived at. The surreal power and capabilities of today's AI raised the stakes enormously. Notre Dame Law School professor Paolo Corazza, a member of the Pontifical Academy of Social Sciences and chair of the Meta Oversight Board, told TechCrunch that AI-driven misinformation and deepfakes have corroded our capacity to recognize what is true and what is not true, and that really has consequences for democratic politics. The tech industry's practice of harvesting and manipulating human data, he added, poses fundamental challenges to cognitive freedom. That's all for today. For the latest in tech news, go to TechCrunch.com.